Okay, just try picturing this for a moment. You walk into a hospital, right? And
Yeah.
everything. The doctors, the nurses, their charts, the equipment, it's all running, well, mainly on Apple stuff.
Like iPads, iPhones.
Exactly. iPads by the beds, Macs at the nursing stations, maybe even Apple Watches. It feels pretty different from the norm, yeah.
It really does. And the thing is, this isn't just, some future concept anymore.
Right.
The news reports we're looking at say it's actually happening now.
That's what we're diving into today. We've got sources talking about Emory Hillandale Hospital down in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And the big news is they're set to become the first hospital in the U.S. primarily powered by, like, the whole Apple ecosystem.
So our mission really is to unpack these reports, get the basic facts straight, which devices where exactly,
Yeah.
but maybe more importantly, understand why this is happening now and what it could all mean for healthcare technology going forward.
Okay, let's kick off with that headline announcement then, because it is quite a statement.
It really is.
The sources are clear. Emory Hillandale Hospital, it's a 100-bed community hospital, part of the bigger Emory Healthcare system.
In Atlanta, yeah.
They're making this leap. Announced as the first U.S. hospital running mostly on a full suite of Apple gear.
And full suite is the important part there. It's not just, a few iPads floating around for a trial.
Right.
The reports list iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches, iMacs, and even Mac Minis being used across the hospital. That's a serious commitment to one platform.
It really shows the scale, doesn't it? And Emory Healthcare's CEO, Dr. John Lee, he's quoted saying, it can certainly be a game changer that's not been done anywhere else in the country.
Mm-hmm. Which tells you they see this as something pretty fundamental, not just swapping out computers.
But, putting slick consumer devices in a hospital,
Yeah.
that only works if they can actually talk to the critical systems, right?
Well, absolutely. And the sources really stress this point. A huge part of this is the tight integration with software from Epic.
Ah, Epic.
Yeah.
If you're not in the healthcare tech world, you need to know Epic is. Well, they're the dominant
The
player.
biggest electronic health record vendor in the U.S. by far.
And these EHRs, the electronic health records, they're basically the hospital's brain, aren't they?
Pretty much. The central nervous system, you could say. They handle everything: patient records, doctor's notes, lab results, meds, scheduling, billing, all of it.
So if your shiny new iPad or Mac can't smoothly access and update that EHR in real time.
Then it's almost useless for clinical work. That integration is everything.
And interestingly, the sources point out this isn't totally out of the blue. Epic and Apple, they have a bit of a history.
They do. Epic actually had iPhone apps way back in, 2010?
Wow, that far back.
Yeah, and just last year, they launched Epic on Mac, making their full software suite run natively on macOS.
Okay.
There's a quote from Epic's EVP of R&D, Seth Howard, calling it an extension and natural next step for us on this journey with Apple.
So there's like a decade-plus foundation there.
Yeah.
Collaboration that made this deeper hospital-wide integration possible, presumably.
Seems likely, but still, the question remains, why now? And why bet so heavily on Apple for this kind of environment? What reasons did the Emory folks give?
Well, they hit on a few key things. User-friendliness was a big one.
Makes sense.
Think about doctors and nurses. Always on the move, super busy. Tech that's just intuitive and easy to pick up. That can make a real difference to their day, to their workflow.
Oh, absolutely. If you've ever seen clinicians wrestling with clunky old software,
Yeah.
it's frustrating and it wastes valuable time.
Yeah. And tied to that, they mentioned needing less IT support.
Ah, the IT angle.
Right. The idea is that Apple's, more standardized ecosystem might be easier to manage, deploy, and troubleshoot compared to juggling lots of different types of hardware and operating systems.
Which for a big system like Emory could mean real savings in terms of time and money. Less IT headache.
They also brought up cybersecurity advantages.
Crucial in healthcare.
Definitely. The sources sort of hint at Apple's built-in security, maybe a smoother update process being a plus compared to whatever they were using before. You just can't mess around with patient data security.
No room for error there. And what else? Any hardware specific?
Yeah, practicality too. They mentioned reliability, the hardware lasting a long time, and importantly, battery life.
Ah, battery life. You can't have a device dying mid-shift.
Exactly. A nurse needs to check patient info or chart something quickly. That device has to work. It's not just convenience, it's essential for actually providing care.
Okay, so those are all solid, logical reasons.
Yeah.
User experience, ITEs, security, reliability.
Mm-hmm.
But was there a trigger, something specific that made them say, okay, we're doing this now and we're going all in?
Yes. The sources highlight a really significant event, a catalyst, that happened just last year.
Oh, what was that?
Emory Healthcare had a massive IT outage back in July. It was apparently caused by a faulty software update from a cybersecurity vendor called CrowdStrike.
Oof, a bad update taking things down. That happens. But how bad was it?
The reports use the word paralyzed. Over 20,000 of Emory's devices were affected. Just imagine that kind of disruption in a hospital system.
20,000 devices. Wow. Okay, so how does Apple fit into this outage story?
This is the kicker. According to these reports, during that massive failure, all of Emory's existing Apple devices, they kept working.
Seriously? While 20,000 other devices were down?
That's what the sources say. A
Oh,
pretty dramatic real-world test of resilience,
but
right?
you could say that again. That must have made an impression.
It clearly did. Dr. Ravi Thadani, he's an EVP at Emory University, is quoted, and he basically says this event really spurred the deeper integration. He has this great quote.
Yeah.
He said, they were working on each other already. You could get Epic on an Apple device, but it wasn't quick and it wasn't seamless. And so they descended here.
Meaning Apple and Epic engineers.
Yeah, coming on site. Because the Apple gear was still running during the outage, it pushed them to collaborate right there, right then, to make that integration tighter for the hospital setting.
Wow. Okay, seeing your devices stay up when everything else crashes, that would definitely build some confidence in that platform stability. A potential plus for Apple's more controlled ecosystem, maybe.
For sure. So they had the underlying reasons, the potential benefits, and then this really powerful, if stressful, proof point from the outage.
Right.
But they didn't just, flip a switch for the whole hospital system overnight. The reports say they were methodical about it.
Good practice, especially in healthcare. What did they do first?
They ran a smaller pilot program first, tested it out on just one floor of one of their facilities.
Smart. Test the waters before diving in.
And the feedback from that pilot, the sources call it phenomenal.
Phenomenal. From who?
From the doctors and nurses, the people actually using the Apple devices with Epic day in, day out. Getting that kind of buy-in from the frontline staff is absolutely critical for something like this to work.
No doubt. That positive feedback must have paved the way, giving them the confidence for this bigger move at Hillandale.
Seems like it. So now, with Hillandale being the first hospital to go full Apple Epic, Emory says they'll be watching the results there very closely.
Monitoring the outcomes, the efficiency, the staff satisfaction, all of it.
And the hope, if it all works out well at Hillandale, is to then expand this Apple deployment to other Emory hospitals.
Okay.
Dr. June Lee puts it pretty plainly. Certainly our intent and hope is that it will show a difference and that we can expand, and it will also be a model for other health systems across the country.
A model for the whole country. That really could be significant if they prove it works effectively at scale.
Yeah. And of course, Apple themselves have a view on this. It fits right into their bigger plans, doesn't it?
It definitely seems to align with their ongoing push into the health sector. They've been making moves there for a while.
There's a quote from Dr. Sumbul Desai. She's Apple's VP of Health. She talks about, believing technology can improve lives.
Standard Apple message, yeah.
And how they're thrilled Emory Hillandale is using their products because, in her words, doctors and nurses should have the best technology in the world.
Which kind of loops back to those benefits Emory mentioned, the user experience, the reliability. Apple's framing it as giving healthcare pros the high-quality tools they deserve.
Makes sense. But while everyone seems pretty optimistic, it's important to remember this isn't guaranteed smooth sailing.
No major tech overhaul ever is, especially in a hospital.
Right. And the sources mention this too. Even Dr. Lee, while talking about all the multiple possibilities, he also acknowledges, quote, it's not going to be without its challenges.
And that's a really crucial reality check. The potential benefits are clear, but you're taking platforms often seen in the consumer world and putting them into this incredibly complex, highly regulated hospital environment.
What kind of challenges are we talking about?
Oh, lots potentially. Things like making absolutely sure every app, every data flow is HIPAA compliant.
Right.
That's non-negotiable. Integrating with older, specialized medical equipment that might not, speak Apple easily, or just the logistics of managing maybe thousands of these devices in a 247 clinical setting, charging, updates, security protocols for shared devices. It's complicated.
So let's kind of wrap this deep dive up. The main takeaway here is Emory Hillandale Hospital is doing something pretty novel in the U.S.
Yeah, the first hospital to really bet big on this comprehensive Apple ecosystem, married tightly with Epic's essential EHR software.
And it looks like it's driven by a mix of factors wanting better user experience for staff, aiming for easier IT management and security.
And importantly, spurred by that real-world experience where the Apple Gear proved reliable during that major outage. That seems key.
Definitely. But while there's clearly a lot of excitement about this possibly being a new model for healthcare tech,
It's still early days, it's a complex undertaking, and even the leadership acknowledges there will be bumps in the road.
right, which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over.
Given that even the CEO expects challenges, what specific hurdles, maybe ones we haven't even thought of yet, might pop up when you try to scale consumer-style tech platforms inside the very high-stakes, highly regulated world of actual patient care in a hospital?
Yeah, and thinking about that, how might the success or maybe the struggles of this pioneering effort at Emory Hillandale end up influencing how quickly, or maybe if other big health systems across the country decide to go down a similar path?
Something to keep an eye on, for sure, as this whole story unfolds.